Now we're going to hear some videos today, starting with the political context of COP26, as Roger mentioned. And our speaker, Laura Sands, CBE, established her green political credentials, sitting for the Conservatives on the green benches as a Thanet MP from 2010 to 2015. She was Parliamentary Private Secretary to the Climate Change Minister, Greg Barker, and served on the Climate Change Select Committee. She was a convener of the wonderfully named Turquoise Tories, which is the Green Conservatives. I like that. So, Laura Sands.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is such a pleasure to be here today. And what a fabulous conference to have at the beginning of COP. Kent has been leading the way in many ways on the environment and strategy and on really driving forward a county-based approach to climate change adaptation and mitigation. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. I used to be a member of Parliament in Kent, and since then have been very much involved in climate change policy, energy policy, and also food, a crucial component of our challenge to get to net zero. So thank you again. If we look and really what's going on at this moment, obviously COP is happening in Glasgow, and that's an absolutely crucial global negotiation. But none of this will happen without local action. We've got the sustainability goals, which are climate action is absolutely at the heart of it. And our government has created and been the first country in the world to legislate for net zero. But as we all know, time is running out. And what we've got now in many ways is us looking at the heavy lifting to both mitigate and adapt to climate change. We've done some fabulous things, not least in Kent with London Array, the Vattenfall investments in offshore wind, lots of solar, and some exciting projects, not least on flood mitigation. But actually now the rubber hits the road. This is where the heavy lifting really starts. So I'm sure that your conference will address some of the more intractable and difficult issues that we have to address. So I don't probably need to tell you this, but this is what the world is facing. And in whether we look at sort of coastal erosion in Kent, whether we look at increased flooding, whether we look at some of the issues that our farmers and horticulturalists are facing, all of these global sort of climate changes are impacting us. We've got water shortages, and there are going to be some quite serious issues around flooding and sea levels. So I don't think that any of us are oblivious to some of the existing climate change impacts that we're facing. But all of this, I'm afraid, even if we get to 1.5 degrees, is going to become much more extreme and much more difficult to manage. But where is the politics of this? The politics is really looking to the future. And I have to say, you know, the UK government has been absolutely a leader in many ways in driving forward climate change policies. We're moving away from that centralized approach to both climate, energy, and environmentalism to a much more local approach. Big is not always beautiful. And as we've seen over the last couple of weeks, there's been huge campaigning around water pollution. So all of this has to be put to our past. But the future is exciting, and the future, as I put down here in the furthest corner, everything is going to be driven by location. Location, location, location. It is going to be, you know, Tunbridge Wells is not the same as Dymchurch, nor is Ramsgate the same as Maidstone. We have got huge diversity even within Kent, but across the country, we've got to start to look at these very locally based solutions. We've got the excitement of EV cars. I think anybody who's driven one should know, my God, do you ever want to get back into a combustion engine car again? And we've got a huge asset in Kent, and that is our nature. But my word, it needs preserving, it needs nurturing. And I can't have anything in any of my presentations without a bit of Monty Python, blessed are the cheesemakers. This is the opportunity, particularly with energy related projects, where it's smaller companies, smaller organizations who are going to be the drivers of change. So just to hark a little bit, hopefully not too much, on the bad news. This is what Kent is going to look like in 2050 with 2 degrees increase in climate. I mean, look at what we're talking about here. We're talking about the ways of our living is going to change. The great Isle of Thanet that I was so proud to represent will become potentially an island again. Nature will be significantly impacted. Look, we lose a lot of land, both in the Medway and also in Folkestone and Hythe area. Flooding will impact a lot of communities, and displacement will put a lot of pressure on all our resources. So never has there been a more important message to the people of Kent and to our politicians that we need to address this issue as quickly as possible. But there are huge opportunities. I really believe that the whole area of decarbonising our economy is actually a way of building a new modern economy, actually modernising and going away from dirty fuels, going away from air pollution to a much, much greater environment where actually we look at our nature and enjoy it, where we have clean air, where we understand what waste management really looks like in a modern decarbonised economy, and where every home becomes its own power station. We've got lots of assets in Kent, not least, exciting things on offshore wind, but also the start of hydrogen production in Herne Bay, and also big initiatives by some of our housing associations to look at fuel poverty. But it is politically what you need, what Kent County Council needs, and how we need to ensure that we as Kent, who's going to be pretty affected by climate change, really needs to ask. Localities need more power. We've got to demand greater devolution, greater agency to design Kent-based solutions, and not Kent-based solutions, Thanet-based solutions, Dover, Maidstone, the Wheel, Tunbridge. These all have different needs and need to work together in collaboration, but need more agency to actually deliver the solutions that we need. And with power, we need more money too. And I was pleased to see that there was an increase in local authority spending potential coming through in the budget, but it's still not going to be enough. But also you, as this group here today, I know you're ambitious, but you need as much ambition as possible, because it is the ambitious that are going to win in this game, and actually I think who are going to influence Whitehall to be able to get that power and get that money that you require. But you do have lots and lots of strengths, as we know. I mean, Kent County Council is very, very well plugged into Whitehall. You've got the excitement of innovation, new businesses. The Federation of Small Businesses has always been a very strong voice. Kent Wildlife Trust has really excelled in how it's been engaging with the public, but also engaging with policymakers. And don't forget the public. The public are crucial. They're going to drive change, and they are going to be, in many ways, our agents of change. So it's about listening and learning from them, but also galvanizing and harnessing their power to ensure that we get the right policies in place and that they're actually embedded in our communities. So people, but what sort of people? We've got a business community that is crucial. We've got farmers that are absolute key agents of change. We've got our coastal communities, as is seen in that map about what climate change would deliver. Our coastal communities are absolutely crucial in terms of building a more resilient Kent. We have got the older people who we must look after, but also those young voices that we must deliver for. And as I've said, we've got a huge amount of issues around fuel poverty. But we must ensure that we develop and deliver our plans that actually sort of in many ways diminishes the haves and the have-nots. We've got to look at a Kent-based just transition. So please do understand that there are lots of strategies out there to ensure that we don't leave people behind. So to conclude, I believe that Kent is in an absolutely excellent position to really be at the forefront of councils around the country to own this agenda. But let's be frank, time is running out. The excitement is this is a new industrial revolution that absolutely Kent is able to capture many of the benefits, both economic and social. But we do have to move beyond our comfort zone. We have to question how we look at both Kent's growth and Kent's opportunities. But we need to move rather than look for perfection. I think that we, and particularly those in the NGO sector, have to see that any progress is good progress. Ambitious progress is fantastic progress, but let's move forward as quickly as possible rather than looking for absolute perfection. Because as one minister said, our mitigation against and adaptation against climate change, we know what we have to do, but the journey will be messy. So now it's over to you. It's over to the brilliant people of Kent, to this great conference that is going to really kick off an absolute clear strategy, which will be able to be implemented and the opportunities gained by our businesses, by our nature, by our communities, and all driven by an ambitious council that really has an opportunity to be a national leader in climate change, mitigation and adaptation. I wish you really well today in your wonderful conference. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you, Laura. Blessed are the cheesemakers. Anybody who quotes Monty Python always gets my vote, I think. But that map of Kent, what a scary map that was. Looks like something from a geological textbook about the Cretaceous era, and it's about now, and it's about what we're about. So I thought that was a really telling slide that she had there, a really good presentation.